What's up, what's going on, legends? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're diving into Modern Warfare Zombies, and today I'm bringing you guys a guide for the new Elder and regular Sigil versions of the new Dark Aether Rift here in Season 2. Now, this won't be how you unlock it. If you guys do need that, I will leave that in the pinned comment down below as I covered that in my last video. Now, you will need to have completed not only the new story mission, which is called Countermeasures, I also have a guide for that as well, but you will need to have done the Easter egg in order to actually unlock the Rift. Very similar to what we did in Season 1, you will need to get 4 items, put them into the specific pedestals in order to actually open the Rift. And once you actually open this Rift, a special mimic does come out of it. Once you eliminate it, it does open a reward rift, giving you access to your first sigil. Another way you guys can get access to sigils is by completing tier 3 contracts. Now, I'm not actually sure if you're able to get them before completing the actual Easter egg, as I have heard from other people that even the Season 1 Rift is closed until you unlock the Season 2 Rift. I don't know how true that actually is, as I did just go through the process to unlock my new Rift, but I should have access to it either way. So in order to get your first sigil or your regular sigil for this, once you actually unlock the portal, you'll either unlock it, eliminate that mimic, getting it out of your first reward rift there, or you'll complete tier 3 contracts until you're able to get access to a regular sigil. Then once you actually have access to it, you'll go over to your Dark Aether Rift, which is going to be in the northern point of the tier 3 zone, indicated by the tornado, which you shouldn't be able to miss. You'll head into it, and on the front side of it, or on one side of it, you'll have the ability to either put in your regular sigil, or on the other side, an Elder Sigil. And then at this point, if you guys aren't familiar with what the difference is between those, the regular sigil is going to be more like a tier 4 difficulty. Honestly, the zombies function more like 2.5, and then in the Elder Sigil, things are a lot more souped up. It's a little bit more difficult, in my opinion, than even the tier 3 zone. Now, if you're looking to get a hold of an Elder Sigil because you don't have one in your stash from previous in the season, you guys will need to go into a regular sigil, complete some of the contracts in there, and you should get access to at least one Elder Sigil within your run. Now, I'm going to come back around to the schematics, but I do want to mention that the schematics for this season can only be got by going into the Elder Sigil itself. So in the regular sigil, the only thing you really get access to is more rewards like the Mags of Holding, the Bloodburner Key, or even VR11 cases as rewards, but you won't actually get the schematics for them unless you do an Elder Sigil. So you'll need to complete a regular sigil run regardless in order to get access to an Elder Sigil if you're looking to go ahead and go in. Now, once you've actually accessed the Dark Aether Rift and you've made your way in, spawning into the top left corner of the map, you can open up your TAC map to kind of see where you're at. There are going to be 3 contracts very similar to the last season Rift that we had. This time we're going to have a bounty. This one is going to be first in C5 on the map. I do my best to show these locations on the map, but just in case there's any confusion, you guys can open up your TAC map and go over to C5. There will be a warehouse in this location that you guys will be able to head into. In the center of it, there is like an office-like second story little area there. You'll be able to climb up the stairs or go up to that second floor. In that office area, you should be able to quickly identify the Aether Bunny. Another way to quickly identify where these contracts are, especially if you're already fully geared up, pack 3, all your perks, is if you have Death Perception, you should be able to actually identify the bunny through the wall, which should be making it a little bit easier to find. But basically, if you open up your TAC map, in the top left corner in C5 will be that building. You'll just head in, go to that top floor. You should be able to follow the laughing in order to grab your first contract. Now, this is going to be the bounty, and it does have 2 outcomes. It can either be a Mega Abomination, which will be located over in C8 of the map, which is the bottom left corner, and it is amidst a bunch of fog there in that area, or it could be over in H4, kind of near where the actual extract is going to be, or the Dark Aether Rift in order to Exfil. Now, I do want to mention, when it comes to the Mega Abomination, it is in this pit of just absolutely crazy fog that you cannot see through. So if you choose to go for this one, or you end up getting this one, I definitely recommend going toward the edge of the fog or trying to bait the Mega Abomination to the edge of the fog. That way you're up above it. You have much better visibility of seeing not only the zombies around you, but also the Mega Abomination themselves. If you guys choose to stay in the fog, it can be pretty chaotic and very, very difficult to see. And it also makes it a lot more challenging to take on the Mega Abomination, as you do kind of rely on it opening its mouth in order to do critical damage. Otherwise, it'll just keep dashing towards you, dashing towards you, dashing towards you, and you have a ton of other zombies in the area. It can be very, very challenging. So definitely recommend using the strategy of just pulling that Mega Abomination towards the edge of the fog. That way you don't actually have to be within it, and you still are able to actually see in the process. Outside of that, you are just going to want to be fully geared, of course. Now, that is something we didn't cover earlier. I think that is pretty self-explanatory if you are going into the Dark Aether. You should at the very least be Pack Punch level 2, Epic or Legendary with your tools, and definitely coming in with all your perks and hopefully some self-revive hives and other things to keep you alive. So when it comes to the Mega Abomination, you're just going to continue to fight it like you would in any other area. It isn't too crazy. The one thing I will mention about this Aether Rift or Portal is it doesn't seem like there's a lot of wandering Mega Abominations, which honestly, in my opinion, makes it a little bit better of an experience and a little bit easier. Now, a really good strategy for taking on the Mega Abomination is coming prepared with a Juggernaut suit. At least if one of you or your teammates have one, it should be more than enough. I found that when we went in as a 3-man, we had more than enough firepower in order to take this on, and even having the Jug suit just made it a lot easier. Now, when it comes to the Disciple, it is a little bit challenging, but overall, it is just a pretty straightforward fight. You'll just head over to the location. If you have dead wire, it will be significantly easier. You'll continue to fight that bounty. If you have more people, obviously, it's a lot less challenging. You'll continue to fight that Disciple like you would any other Disciple in the mode. Once you're able to eliminate it, either the Mega Abomination or the Disciple, obviously, you've completed the bounty. Now, the next contract available in the Dark Aether is going to be an Outlast. We actually had this in the first Aether Rift as well, and it is pretty straightforward and easy to accomplish. Now, this contract's actually going to be located amongst all the buildings there. It's actually the building that is tallest, I believe, in the entire area. It is very close to the gas station location. But like I was saying, this contract is going to be located at the top of the tallest building in that series of buildings there in the E7 grid mark. So you guys will be able to head over to the tallest part of this building. Should have a ladder on one side, or if you have a Scorcher, it's pretty easy to get up there. Then at the top of the building, just above where the doorway is, you guys will be able to see this Aether Bunny, being able to grab it, grabbing your Outlast contract. Now, this Outlast location is going to be located in G8 of the map. It is actually located very close to where the water would have been. If you're at all familiar with Al Mazrah, and there is a little round structure there, it is a small restaurant. But of course, this objective will be marked for you, so you guys shouldn't have too many issues finding it. You'll head over to it, you'll activate the PND, and you'll stay within the radius of the PND in order to fill up the progress bar, defending it from all the zombies and stuff that comes. Now, at this point, it is pretty easy to actually defend, especially if there's multiple people watching, as there isn't a lot of different places that the zombies actually come from. They either kind of come from the left side, the right side, and then very rarely in the middle. You'll continue to defend this area just like you would any other P&D. Once you're able to actually complete the progress bar, your reward rift will pop up. Now, for our third and final contract, this one's actually going to be very easy to kind of locate. It's just more of a pain to get to if you don't have access to a Scorcher. This one is going to be located at the top of the mall, and it's going to be the Aether Extractors. Now, you guys should be familiar with this. The very big difference with this one as opposed to other ones is there's actually going to be no mercs involved whatsoever. There might be some specials or elites that are available in that area and a bunch of zombies, but you won't have to deal with any merc. So you're going to make your way over to the mall location. You're either going to need to scale your way up the back of the parking garage all the way up to the roof, making your way up the left side of the building, depending on which side you're looking at, or the right side of the building, where it allows you to kind of scale all the way up to the very top. Then there's this little kind of cone-like shape at the very top of the actual mall. You guys will make your way all the way to the tippy very top of that, and you guys will actually see the last and final Aether Bunny. Again, this is an Aether Extractor. It is going to take you back towards the series of buildings, kind of near where you grabbed the Outlast contract, where you guys will be able to find the 3 Aether Extractors that you'll go and initiate with. Once you actually blow each of them up at the location within the time limit, you will have then completed this contract. Again, the big issue here is just going to be the zombies. If you actually come prepared with maybe some decoys or definitely some Casimirs, you shouldn't have too many issues hitting these extractors, even if you are playing solo. The big deal here is that when you are actually activating them, you're not getting hit by zombies. So as long as you have some sort of distraction, it honestly should be a fairly straightforward process. Now that we're familiar with all of the locations of all of the contracts and we know exactly what to expect, now we need to know how we actually get out of this Sigil or Elder Sigil Dark Aether Rift. And what you're going to need to do is open up your TAC map. You're going to want to look toward the northern portion of it around the G4 grid square. Actually, if you do end up getting the Disciple contract, it ends up being very close to where the Rift is. Then you guys wouldn't have any issues finding it. If you guys are familiar with this map, just on the northern portion of the map on the hillside there, you guys should be familiar with a radio tower. It's actually right by that radio tower. But essentially, it is in the G4 grid square there. You guys shouldn't be able to miss it. Just head more toward that northern portion of the map. And again, if you have a Scorcher, you could obviously fly into the air, parachuting toward it, making it a little bit easier to see. But once you are ready to conclude your run, you'll just head over to that location, being able to activate it fairly easy, heading out and successfully exfilling. Now, there's one last thing in this video I do want to cover, and it's in regards to the schematics. Now, the first schematic that we're going to be able to get access to is going to be the Bloodburner key. Then we have the VR11 case, and then the last, but the most important in my opinion, the mags of holding. Now, in order to get access to these schematics, it is going to be challenging just because you do have to go to the Elder version of the Sigil. And if you did miss earlier, you do have to go and get a regular Sigil, visit the Dark Aether, complete contracts there, and as a reward, you should receive an Elder Sigil. Then you'll be able to go back to the exact same portal in Urzikstan, go to the other side of the portal, insert that Elder Sigil, getting you access to a much more difficult rift. You'll know you're going to the correct one because the rift will actually turn red instead of orange. basically indicating that you're going to the much more difficult version. Now, once you actually enter the Dark Aether and it is in the Elder version, there isn't many differences besides the zombies are faster and stronger in some cases, and you might see a little bit more of them, but outside of that, the contracts are going to be the exact same that we've already covered in this video. Again, the only difference being it is a little bit more challenging. Now, the other thing that is important to note is you get significantly less time in the Elder Sigil version, as I believe it is only 15 minutes, so you are going to have to move much quicker, and for this, I definitely recommend the Scorcher, especially if you're looking to get your schematics knocked out. And one thing that is important to note is when you go into the Elder version, make sure you know where each of the contracts are that we already covered in the video, their exact locations, and of course where your final exfil is going to be. That way when you go in, you have a plan, as it is much more of a time crunch, and honestly, depending on your squad size will determine how difficult it'll actually be. When it comes to this version of the Rift, I definitely recommend bringing the Jug Suit just so you can actually make sure you go through the Mega Abomination quickly, if that's the one you end up getting, and you guys will be able to move over to your other contracts, as it will be a little bit more time crunch, like I said before, being that you are much more limited on time. Now, when it comes to the actual schematics, there is not a specific contract that leads to a specific schematic as a reward, and you could actually go into the Elder Sigil, complete it like I did in my first run, do each and every one of the contracts available. As I was in a 3-man, it made it significantly easier. We were able to blast through them, and we actually only received one of the schematics as a reward. And our first run, I believe all we got was the VR11, and our second run, we actually were able to get the Blood Burner key, and I think we might have even got a VR11 case as well in that one too. And then in our third run, which was obviously the third time we did the Elder Sigil, we actually managed to get all 3 schematics in the same run. Now, I did go back and look at each of our individual runs to kind of see if there was any correlation between specific contracts and specific schematics as a reward, and it did not seem like that was the case. For one run in the Aether Extractor, we got the Mags of Holding, whereas the previous one before that, I managed to get a Blood Burner key schematic. Same thing when I went over to the Bounty, one time I got a VR11 case schematic, another time I got a Blood Burner key schematic. So there isn't really any specific order that you need to do them, how many times you need to do them. It's kind of just a little bit of RNG and luck based on which one you will get, or if you'll get even all 3 in the exact same run. Maybe it's one of those things where they keep track how many times you actually go into your Elder Sigil to kind of determine the RNG base of whether or not you'll get the schematic. I'm not exactly sure. It could take you 1 run, 2 runs, or in my case, it took all 3, but eventually I was able to get access to all 3 schematics by completing the contracts, and again, it didn't matter which one. But once you guys are able to go into your Elder Sigil, complete each of the 3 contracts, I think the hardest one, honestly, is going to be that Bounty, just because it could be the Mega Abomination amidst the fog. But overall, I think it's much easier to complete than the Season 1 version of the Dark Aether Rift, just because I think it's a much better map design, it's open, and there's a lot less Mega Abominations. That's going to wrap things up for today's guide on the Dark Aether for Season 2. Thank you guys for all the support in today's video, all the support in the channel, and I look forward to seeing y'all in the next one. Peace.